If you are a dad or ever have been a dad, you probably understand a conversation like this between a father and his son. As this particular dad described it, it went something like this. One evening, his 10-year-old son sort of snuggled up to him after dinner as his dad was reading in his chair. The boy looked up and said, "Dad, can I ask you a question?" Dad put down his paper and looked at him and said, "Sure, what's up?" And with his big eyes and sweet face, he said, "Dad, can I have a chainsaw?" Dad tried not to laugh, for he knew his son was dead serious. It seems to be the energy of a boy, doesn't it, to want things that give him a feeling of power, at the strength to change things. A boy with a chainsaw is a powerful thing. Of course, this dad said no way. A 10-year-old he knew with a chainsaw is more powerful than he ought to be. But you know, I understand the desire that little boy had. It's essential, it seems to me, to the masculine nature. There's likely not a man among us here this morning who does not want power, who does not want to have an impact. We want to leave our mark. For girls, it seems to me, as I've worked with people for these 36 years, for girls, it seems that the question is very different. Now, before you object and get lost in your brain saying, "Gary, have you not looked at any gender studies lately?" and do you know all the issues going on around this? Yes, I've sat in on those classes, I've been on panels in those classes, and much of what is being taught I totally agree with, much. And I know these statements are going to be somewhat overgeneralizations, but I ask you to take them to your dining room table, to your kitchen tables, talk to your spouses about them and your friends, and think about it in your heart, if this is true for you or not. But for the girls, the question is different from a little boy's. There's a little of each in each of us. True that. Both these questions are in everybody. But typically, most girls need and want to know, am I lovely? Am I beautiful? All through those years, you know, when she was dressing up and doing shows for you and playing princess and trying to look so beautiful and shedding tears over the fact she might not be. She's trying to capture your attention. She's trying to capture your attention because she wants to know, am I lovely? Am I beautiful? But again, for boys overall, it seems to be so true that no matter how old we get, how old, the basic question is still, do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes? It is likely our biggest fear, that the biggest fear we carry in this world is failure, in one shape or another, which of course would prove we didn't have what it takes. Somehow each of us wants to know we have what it takes. And on this Father's Day, I have to say that I want the dads here to know that you are the most powerful men in all the world, at least to your kids, at least in their world. And your kids are looking to you to answer the deepest questions of their lives. Because every boy shares the same basic question, do I have what it takes? And every boy looks to his dad to answer it. And every little girl wants to know, am I beautiful? And she looks to her dad to answer it. How you, dads, grandpas, men of the church, how you answer that core question will shape your kids for the rest of their lives. No one is as powerful as you are in the lives of your daughters and of your sons. No one. Now please note, another disclaimer number 2. I'm not saying moms are unimportant at all. You know, if you've been around here, that's not the truth. Mother teaches another unique and priceless gift called unconditional love. And she teaches us about mercy. She's a comforter. And when boys or girls want to do something adventurous, a little risky, who do they go to? They go to dad usually, not mom. I never went to my mom to climb a tree. It would be my dad who would encourage the risk-taking and the adventure, and mom would pick up the pieces. And so when we skin our knees or cut our fingers, when we get our feelings hurt, who do we run to? Mom, of course. And you know, they tell me even wounded soldiers on a battlefield are known to cry out for their moms at the last breaths of their life. Mother is love and tenderness and mercy. A mom is really the picture of the heart of God. But you dads, you give us our identity. Especially our identity as women and men. You will teach us we have what it takes, and that we are lovely, that we are beautiful. Men need to hear that too. Little boys need to hear it too. That we are powerful. Do I have what it takes? I'm going to wonder that every once in a while the rest of my life. Do I have what it takes? And only you can answer that for me the best. To those of you who wonder about being a good dad, if you've been a good dad when it was your turn, it could be argued that one of the key roles of fathering is very and most simply answer your kids' questions. Answer those truest, deepest questions. Tell them, no matter how old they are, because 62-year-olds need to hear it too still. Yes, you have what it takes. Yes, you are beautiful. And it's not just, as I just said, about little boys and little girls. Your son or daughter right now, your grandchildren, your neighbor boys and girls, no matter how old anybody is, they'll always want and need to hear the words from you, though, that you have what it takes. You are a man. You're a man. You are lovely, and you're worth fighting for. You're beautiful. And this will remain true for the rest of our lives. And let me just say this. Even if up until now you don't feel like you've answered that most important question for your kids or grandkids, it's not too late. It's not too late. No matter how old they are, you can do that still, even your middle-aged kids. And if we, you and I, the rest of us, look back and lament on how we have not done this for others, or our dads never did it for us, we have to forgive them. And we have to forgive ourselves, you know? And then begin to do it. Just start now. This is the greatest thing about this gospel life. It's never too late to start doing this for each other. Of course, some of us have dads who never ever told us that. Some learned more from our dads on the other side. Their silence, their ugly and angry outbursts, the way they ridiculed us when we messed up. ridiculed. We were probably told more often, unfortunately, that we don't have what it takes. And that really affects us the rest of our lives. We end up haunted by the question then because it never gets answered. And we get desperate to prove it. We get desperate to prove to everybody else we're a man. We're beautiful. So desperate that it leads to all kinds of compromising and unhealthy situations. We end up trying desperately to get our Father's approval one way or another, and oftentimes unhealthy. For my friends, it is our dads, it is our fathers who are designed to answer those core questions. True, Dad. And if you look at this gospel, I think you're going to see it in this very gospel you just heard proclaimed. This scene when the gospel writer zeroes in on Jesus responding to this woman at his feet who's grieving her sins and celebrating this great love he had for her, unashamedly. He answers the question this woman wanted to hear. She wanted to know that after all she's done wrong in life, is she still beautiful? Is she still lovable? Does she have what it takes? Can she be forgiven? In whose eyes am I still loved, even if I mess up and fail? How powerful Jesus here is in this scene as a man. The power to give her an identity back to her of being beautiful and able to do it. It's the same thing he did with his apostles over and over again. He was the one with the power to tell them, they can do this. You can do this. The power to give identity. Whew. If you've never heard that you have what it takes, you have to do some work on this yourself. You have to grieve that some. And we need to do the work to forgive our dads. The fact is, probably most men, especially older men, my age and above, we're not very good at validating our kids. Partly because nobody ever did it for us either. But if you've never heard it, please hear it here, today, now. Please listen to me. Men of the church, you have what it takes. I really believe Jesus would say that to you today. With all my heart, I say to each of you, men and women alike, you have what it takes. And you are beautiful. Please believe that. One last word to dads. You have the most powerful voice in all the world in the lives of your kids. No one will have the impact on them you will have. But isn't that what you've always wanted? That little boy who wanted a chainsaw. Didn't you always want to be powerful? To have that eternal impact? The truth is, you do. When it comes to what they need, what you can offer them, you have what it takes. You